Henry Park Primary School, Primary 6, English Language Prelim. In this paper, we'll be targeting Section A and Section B. We won't be doing comprehension because that's a completely separate video altogether. So let's get started. Grammar. Question 1. Mrs. Tan gave dash student in her class a reward for winning the Class of the Year award in the kindness campaign. This would be each. Let's see how it fits. Mrs. Tan gave each student in her class a reward for winning the Class of the Year award in the kindness campaign. It can't be much student because student or students are something you can count in a group. So much student doesn't make sense. Many student won't make sense either because it's many students. Same with some. It has to be some students with an S. Question 2. The hikers used a compass to find dash way through the thick jungle. It would be their way because the hikers is a group. Not its way because its way would be for an animal. His way would be if this was James or a boy. Her would be for Sally. And they are one person, not a group. Question 3. Dash are the boys who had bullied me, said Ben, pointing to some boys at the canteen. Again, the boys are plural. They are a group. It can't be this, it can't be that. That would be for the boy. So over here, we see that Ben is pointing to some boys over at the canteen, meaning that they are far away and at a distance from him. So we would say those are the boys who had bullied me, not these, because those is for when people are at a distance from you. They are far away. Question 4. When we arrived, we noticed that everyone dashed anxiously for the famous actress to appear on stage. When we arrived is past tense, so we can't say we noticed that everyone is or are waiting. It would be past tense. Due to the tense in the sentence, it has to be consistent. Everyone is a group. We count it as one in this case. So it would be everyone was waiting, not everyone were waiting. It's a common mistake to think everyone would go with were because everyone means all the people, which is more than one. But in this case, we count everyone as only one. All right, so everyone will always be was or is. But in this case, because it's past tense, it would be everyone was waiting. Question 5, if you dash not dash on time, the plane will take off. If you do not arrive on time, the plane will take off. That's a matter of speech because they're saying it will take off, which is present tense here. So you need to have something that is present tense as well, not the past tense ones. The stranger asked Lily if she dashed the way to the nearest shopping mall. Asked, past tense. So if she knew the way to the nearest shopping mall. Question 7. While mother dashed in her room, we slipped quietly to the kitchen to have some snacks. Past tense in slipped. So while mother slept, oh, apologies. So slipped here is past tense. Well, let's look at the options we have here. So while mother was sleeping in her room, we slipped quietly into the kitchen to have some snacks. It can't be sleep because it would have to have an S. You can't say while mother sleep in her room. While mother sleeps in her room, do we just look at the first part of the sentence and not look at the second part? But since the second part already tells us that it's a past tense, we've established that the first part can't be present tense. So 1 and 2 are automatically out. Question 8. He dash be at the office by now, but he's not at his workstation. He should be at the office by now. You can't say he will be because as a matter of speech, we normally say, hey, he should be at the office by now, but he can't be there because he's doing something else. Not might. Might doesn't fit in here because might has some uncertainty there. So it would be he should be at the office by now, but he is not because of reasons. Question 9. Most animals will not attack. Dash they are provoked. So these two parts of the sentences don't align. They're opposites, in fact. So we would say most animals will not attack unless they are provoked. We're looking for a linking sentence, or rather a linking word that links the sentence here. Because won't be used here because shows that the other part of the sentence is a reason for the first part. For example, if it's because, we would say most animals will not attack because they are docile and tame. So it can't be here. Question 10, just keep dash it and you will find it easier solving these types of questions after a while. So the question implies that you need to be practicing a lot. So the answer would be at. Just keep at it. Keep at it is a phrase whereby you keep on practicing constantly. Moving on to question 11 to 15. Vocabulary. Question 11. The parents were discussing their child's results with the teacher when the fire alarm suddenly rang and interrupted their conversation. Usually, what gets interrupted is 95% of the time conversations, debates, and arguments rarely get interrupted. And they would imply having to be disagreeing with each other. Parents are discussing results with the teacher, so that wouldn't be something of a debate or an argument. Speech is a one-way conversation almost, where one person delivers the speech and the other people listen. So this can't be a discussion. It can only be a conversation. She cannot resist ice cream and cakes because she has a sweet tooth. Ice cream and cakes are desserts. So you would need a sweet tooth to enjoy them. And she having a sweet tooth would mean that she can't resist them. Pinch of salt just means a very little amount of salt which you put in a dish. Hard nut to crack could mean someone is stubborn. So these aren't applicable here. 13. I have been studying for the past 4 hours without a break and I'm about to collapse with dash. Collapse means you're almost about to faint. So the tone of the sentence here, or rather what they're implying, is that you're really overstretched. You're very, very tired, aren't you? So if you study for the past 4 hours without a break, you would have a lot of fatigue. Fatigue just means you're very tired. Not fatigue you, fatigue. And take note of the spelling here. It's a UE. Boredom just means you're bored. Anticipation means you are very, very excited when you anticipate something. Regret wouldn't apply here because regret means you regret something. You wish you hadn't done it. They dash in jail after being caught for shoplifting. This would be they landed up in jail. We're trying to say they ended up in jail. And the word here that means ended up is landed up. Handed up wouldn't work here. Washed up means something, a thing and not a person, washes up ashore. For example, near the beach. Brought up would be you brought up a subject that you're not supposed to talk about, meaning you talked about something that mum told you to keep a secret about. Wouldn't apply here. 15. The chef spent a lot of time creating and perfecting his truly Singaporean dish. He wanted to dash the distinguished guests from all over the world. So usually, it would mean that if someone perfects something and they're showing it to really, really special guests, distinguished means really, really important special guests, they would want to impress them. Soothe means comfort, right? For example, you have a burn. So physically, you need to apply some ice on the burn to soothe it. Ascertain would mean work out, not exercise, but I ascertained my mum was very angry with me because she wouldn't speak to me for the next week. Reassure means sort of like comfort. Hey, don't worry, mum will get around. She'll stop ignoring you soon. Dad reassured me. Question 16 to question 20. It was dawn when Jay woke up. After washing up, he took his net and went off. So what would took be in the words here? It wouldn't be secured. It wouldn't be detained. Detained means you detain someone and prevent them from leaving. For example, someone who shouldn't be at the airport, a fugitive or an immigrant. You could detain them there and not let them enter the country further, right? You prevent them from proceeding. Secured means I secured my spot in the race. It was really, really difficult to book a spot, but yet I secured it. It means you have reserved your spot. Abducted means you sort of got kidnapped, right? So these three wouldn't apply here. It would be grabbed. It's always good to know the meanings of certain words roughly and have them in your mind when you do the exam. So that way you can be sure that you eliminating well, even if you know that the answer is grabbed straight away. That serves as a second blanket of checking. He trudged his way across the seaweed and driftwood along the riverbank. With a thumping heart, he bent over and found that there was no fish in the shallow part of the river. He dashed his steps down the riverbank towards the deeper waters. He quickened his steps. So, quickened here would mean hastened. We wouldn't say accelerated because it doesn't make sense to say he accelerated his steps. Although you can accelerate, meaning increase your overall speed, that's just for your overall speed, but we never use accelerate to describe steps. Headed would just mean headed towards a place. Slackened just means you slacken it in your overall work ethic or your work attitude. Like you want to have a more slackish attitude and you do less work. He spent the morning scooping up water from different parts of the river, but he still could not catch any fish. He decided to take a break. Jay sat on a big rock and looked hard at the river. So look hard wouldn't mean peek. For example, I would say, take a peek, take a look, right? It also wouldn't be squinted because squinted, although sometimes you could imply that you do have to look hard, the meaning is more so that you have to try and improve your vision. For example, you can't really see something, it's not clear to you, then you would squint and you would make your eyes smaller so that you could try and make it seem a little bit more clear to your vision so you could make out what's out in the distance. So in this case, it would be stared. If you look hard, you would be staring hard at something. He remained there for a while. Then he tried again to find some fish. His efforts were in vain. In vain means futile. And futile just means it didn't do anything. For example, my mum was really angry with me and I tried to make her a card and bake her a cake so that she would accept my apology. But if she doesn't accept your apology and she's still mad at you, it means your efforts were futile or in vain, sort of like useless. Eventually, he decided to throw in the towel. Throw in the towel is an important phrase. It's very common. You need to memorize that it means give up. Let's do the flyer questions. Questions 21 to 28. Normally, try and read the questions first. Soft Toy Hospital. About us. Soft Toy Hospital is founded by a pair of siblings, Anthony and Betty Tan. In 2018, they came across the website of Nugurumi, which means soft toy in Japanese, Nugurumi Hospital, and were intrigued by its concept. When the siblings read about the process of treating stuffed patients and saw them before and after the photos on the website, they were reminded of how their mother fixed their dirty, torn, and thin soft toys. So maybe this could be something that inspired them because it's from childhood, right? Often people get inspired from their childhood. Anthony said, it was magical when I witnessed an irreplaceable soft toy of mine that was ripped apart, being transformed into one from my childhood memory. I would like to provide the same experience for others. So of course, when Anthony himself got something fixed, a soft toy of his fixed, because right now, or at the point of fixing or requiring fixing, it looked very, very dirty. It didn't look anything like what it looked like when it was new. And Anthony's memory had the one which was new. Betty added, my daughter had a stuffed friend that she drags along with her everywhere she goes. I would like to set up medical facilities that can help others to maintain the condition of their beloved soft toys. The duo then launched Soft Toy Hospital by creating a Facebook page and putting up an advertisement to attract customers. Shortly after, the guardian of their first patient contacted them for treatment. It was a shark that needed more padding. How do we get your soft toys treated by our professional doctors? Step 1, first get an online consultation. WhatsApp this number, send pictures, and indicate the size of the stuffed patient. Indicate the services required, and we will recommend either hospitalization or house call services after the initial assessment. So hospitalization is at this address, 30 Orchid Road, opening hours 9 to 7 p.m., 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Take note, it's not real hospitalization. They're just having a little analogy, meaning they're using these concepts that apply to humans, right? Because we get hospitalized, we go to clinics, and they're applying that to soft toys, which is a really, really cute little concept that makes it more appealing to get your soft toy fixed. You can do a house call by booking an appointment via WhatsApp again. And this is for the simpler surgical procedures that can be performed by the professional doctors in the comfort of your home from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m., meaning you don't have to leave your soft toy there overnight. So these are the services they provide in a cute little structure. Soft toy hospital, you have disease management, which means you do antimicrobial coating and infestation control, general surgery where you involve changing or adding stuffing, stitching, patching, replacement of parts, installation of parts like the musical box and a built-in speaker if the audio isn't working. You have maintenance, which is just a spa, cleaning and massage. You have aesthetic surgery, which is correction of deformities, costume makeover, and color restoration. Treatment cost, there's no fixed standard price list because each soft toy is unique, and it also depends on other factors that reflect the state of the toy, like the size, age, and extent of wear and tear. So firstly, the experienced doctors will assess the staff patient's condition and then quote the client a price. So for reviews and before and after photos, you're able to visit the Facebook page. And if you leave a review, you can receive a limited edition teddy bear and 10% off any treatment if it's within these two periods. Take note, it's not one or the other, it's both. And if you like and share our Facebook page, you enjoy 10% off spa services for first-time customers. So let's have a look at the questions. Anthony and Betty got the inspiration to set up the soft toy hospital from, it would be either their mother or the concept of a soft toy hospital. How come? Because we saw that paragraph where Anthony talked about both his mother and the concept of a soft toy hospital. Let's see which is the answer. So this should be for question 21. And notice how they talked about how they were reading about the process of treating stuffed patients, and they came across a website of Nugurumi Hospital. And that's how they were intrigued or found the concept interesting. And that's when they were reminded of how their mum fixed their dirty, torn soft toys. So the mum wasn't the inspiration. The mum was the memory or the afterthought. So what really inspired them would be the concept of a soft toy hospital. So be mindful, the sequence here is very important and tricky. Question 22. In the second paragraph of About Us, the experience refers to it will be here. And we can see that he refers to his toy going from the spoilt state to the original state. And that is the one in his memory. So it will be number 4, witnessing your old soft toy returning to its original state. Question 23, why are the arrows used in section how to get your soft toys treated by our professional doctors? So that's a really important sequence, right? It tells you what to do first. Step 1, you do an online consultation. Step 2, hospitalization or house call, depending on the needs and after the recommendation. So it wouldn't just be to list information or modify information. Modify means edit. It would rather be to sequence information, meaning there's a specific sequence telling you how to go about it. Question 24. Mr. Lee requires a few buttons to be stitched back onto his soft toy by a professional doctor. According to the flyer, he should dash. It would be get an online consultation first. As we have seen from here, the first thing you do is get an online consultation. So for here, try and find the keyword first, right? It literally says here first. So that would tell us that the first thing you do is the words after the word first. Get an online consultation. Question 25. Which departments will help to maintain the hygiene of the soft toy and prevent it from having bed bugs? So we are looking into prevention. Let's have a look what that'll be. It wouldn't be replacement of parts or correction of deformities or stuff like costume makeover. It says here hygiene and prevention from having bed bugs. So we want to have a preventive measure. So we would have disease management and maintenance, not surgery. 26. The hospital doesn't have a standard price list for the following possible reasons, except it will be number 2. Different doctors, quote different prices. We've never seen that, and it's unlikely to be number 2 because they are all from the same company. Rather, they're actually run by Anthony and Betty Tan, so there wouldn't be different price quotations. In fact, for those reasons. In fact, over here, they talk about their reasons why they have different treatment costs. Compare this whole chunk to the options here. They're implying that every soft toy is special, yet they're all different, so prices differ due to that. There are many factors, like outside reasons, that affect the state of the toy, and hence the treatment cost is dependent on that. And lastly, these words say that the treatment costs depend on the condition of the soft toy, and they're used in that paragraph. And there's no mention of different doctors quoting different prices, so the answer is option 2. 27, Sally was a first-time customer who liked and shared Soft Choice Hospital's Facebook page and left a review on 8 August 2022. What will she receive? The answer would be 20% off spa services only. So the key thing to take note of here is the date as well. It's really tricky because she liked, shared, and if I'm not wrong, she also left a review. So we would think that she gets everything here. But take note, the teddy bear is only 1st August to 31st July. So she's missed that. So she'd only be eligible for 10% off spa services. Apologies, this would be the part where you get the answer. Enjoy 10% off spa services for our first-time customers. 28, what is the main purpose of this flyer? So often when you have a main purpose of the flyer, it doesn't matter what the intent or the voice behind the passage is. For example, if it's for charity, it wouldn't be to encourage people to be kind, but rather it's always to raise awareness and get people to go to the charity event. Similarly here, it's literally to attract people to get their soft toys treated at the hospital, because this is a business. They're trying to ask people to treat their soft toys at their hospital. Grammar closed. Questions 29 to 38. The Eiffel Tower is the most famous landmark in Paris, France. Dash, it was criticized by the public when it was built. It is one dash the most recognizable structures in the world today. The 330-meter high monument was completed in March 1889. Since then, it has welcomed nearly 7 million tourists yearly. The iron structure dash connected by 2.5 million rivets and expands dash summer, causing it to increase in height by more than 10 centimeters. Gustav Eiffel, the designer of the tower, built dash, a place to live in, on top of the tower, on the top level of the tower. This apartment had not been used dash Eiffel's death until it was opened for public viewing in 2015. Dash 2 wind turbines, a system to reuse rainwater in the tower's toilet, was installed to make the Eiffel Tower more environmentally friendly. The Eiffel Tower was originally painted dark red, dash it was repainted yellow. Today it is painted bronze and it gets a new coat of painting every few years. Every evening, 20,000 light bulbs light up the Eiffel Tower, dash the night sky. It is a mesmerizing and an attractive sight. Mesmerizing meaning, wow, I'm in awe at the sight. It's really, really gorgeous. It's a captivating sight. Dash, it looks beautiful in the day as well. Visiting the Eiffel Tower in the day is a completely different experience as compared to visiting it at night. So we always want to read the whole passage and not fill in anything yet in case there are duplicate words. So after reading it one time and saying dash for each blank, that's when we go back and fill it in the first time round. So the Eiffel Tower is the most famous landmark in Paris, France. Question 29, it would be although. So although it was criticized by the public when it was built, it is one dash the most recognizable structures in the world today. Conflicting meanings in two parts of the sentence. At first, although it was criticized by the public, now it is one of the most recognizable structures in the world today. Let's see. Is there an off? Yep, that's N. Off. This is something very common. It is one of the best, one of the worst. The 330-meter high monument was completed in March 1889. Since then, it has welcomed nearly 7 million tourists yearly. The iron structure dash connected by 2.5 million rivets and expands dash summer. causing it to increase in height by more than 10 centimeters. So this sounds like it's in present tense, right? Because it happens during summer. So this would be is, right? Although it was completed in 1889, right now, the iron structure is connected by 2.5 million rivets and expands dash summer. It will be during summer because summer is a time period. So make sure you write down summer here. Gustav Eiffel, the designer of the tower, built a place to live in on top of the tower. I think it's saying that he built himself a place because he's the designer, right? So he is a male, the designer, so it would be himself. The apartment had not been used Eiffel's death until it was open for public viewing in 2015. So it's saying that it wasn't used at all since he died, right? So the answer would be since. -2 wind turbines, a system to reuse rainwater in the tower's toilet, was installed to make the Eiffel Tower more environmentally friendly. So what would we put here? It would be besides. Besides 2 wind turbines, a system to reuse rainwater in the tower's toilet was installed to make the tower more friendly, meaning aside from 2 wind turbines, you also have this, a system to reuse rainwater, and all these things, the 2 wind turbines and the system, contribute to making the tower more environmentally friendly. That's a tricky one. The Eiffel Tower was originally painted dark red, it was repainted yellow. That would be before, because originally it was painted dark red, and now it's repainted yellow. Today, it is painted bronze, and it gets a new coat of paint every few years. Every evening, 20,000 light bulbs light up the Eiffel Tower, the night sky. What would that be? I know you're tempted to say in the night sky, but it's always against the night sky because we're seeing the lit up, not really reflection, but silhouette of the Eiffel Tower against the night sky. It is a mesmerizing and an attractive sight. It looks beautiful in the day as well. So we're saying that over here, it looks really great at night. And now we're talking about the day and how it's a completely different experience in the day versus the night. So what would it be here? It would be something saying however, right? Because we're trying to say, although it's so nice in the day, it's also nice at night. But we don't have however, we have nevertheless. Nevertheless means something similar to however, right? You didn't do your homework for the teacher, but nevertheless, the teacher decided to forgive you and will go through the answers for you for your convenience. Let's do editing, question 39 to question 50. Mr. Yuichiro Miura is a Japanese adventurer. At the age of 80, he succeeded in reaching the summit of Mount Everest. So this would be a spelling error if it's underlined. It would be some, S-U-M, and then mit. Summit. It can't just be with one M. It's very rare. Succeeded in reaching the summit of Mount Everest for the 3rd time, making him the world's oldest person to do so. His journey to that peak, marked by a series of unprecedented hardships. It would be was over here, because here's past tense here. So we can't have something inconsistent. After climbing Mount Everest for the 2nd time at the age of 75, he decided he will make a 3rd attempt at the age of 80. It's would, because this is all past tense again. However, the following year, he landed hard in an awkward angle after a ski jump and broke 5 bones, including his thigh bone or pelvis. It wouldn't be all here because he broke multiple bones, so it would be and. Doctors told him that he would have to be to a wheelchair, confined. Again, it's the same concept as tested. It's confined, not confine. So you're very lucky if the same concept gets tested repeatedly. But then again, if you don't know the concept and you can't picture why it should be past tense, then you're going to get multiple ones wrong. So this is really important to know. Always identify the tense of a passage. Or rather, the tense of a question. It has to be consistent, okay? Is it present? Is it past? Question 44, definitely recover. This is a spelling mistake. Definitely would be definitely. I over here, not definitely. I'm going to heal and climb again. With his resolve in mind, he followed a daily rehabilitation regime closely, and after 3 years, he fully recovered. For question 45, it's a spelling error also. How do we spell rehabilitation? The short form is rehab, right? So after rehab, we have tation. The error here is double L. It's only one L. He had completely overcome a situation. Who has considered irreversible? Situation is always which. It's not a person. However, Mr. Mira was again beset by difficulties. This is a spelling error. Difficulties, how do you spell it? Difficulties. With only 4 months left after he departed for Mount Everest, is kind of like he hasn't departed for Mount Everest. So the word is before. With only 4 months before he departed from Mount Everest, a chronic illness, arrhythmia, recurred. Recurred spelling error, it's 2 R's. Recurring, forcing him to undergo 2 operations. It was considered impossible for him to climb, but he set off for the Himalayas without changing his plans. It was a decision that surprised everyone. This is tricky, because surprise reads surprised, right? But it's actually surprised with a R. Surprised everyone. When he finally reached the peak of Mount Everest, he felt a surging sense of accomplishment. So you need to buckle for editing if you didn't get full marks, because editing is really, really a great place to score marks in. It's easy marks, although it's very, very tricky. But if you read enough and you pay attention to enough words, you would be able to see what they're testing and score as high as possible. But don't be disheartened if you didn't score full marks, although I would recommend you do your spelling times 5 corrections, meaning if you got a certain spelling word wrong, for example, recurred, you're going to be taking what I wrote, the correct word out, and writing out recurred 5 times, okay? That will help you out in memorizing the pattern of it. Write it 5 times, okay? Now let's do close. As usual, for questions 51 and 65 to 65, we're going to read the whole thing first and call it dash without filling in anything. We need to know the general tone and the general flow of the passage. The National Environment Agency, NEA, has found a unique way of fighting dengue in Singapore. About 200 million Wolbachia Aedes mosquitoes dash been bred at the NEA's mosquito factory since it was dash in 2019. This is past tense, take note. These mosquitoes were then dash in certain areas of the island. So that's kind of like placing them. This is part of the agency's fight against dengue in the Republic. Dash, it will be some time before Project Wolbachia expands to other parts of the island, as time is needed to improve the method of releasing these mosquitoes on the island. The agency also needs dash develop the relevant technology, said senior scientist Deng Lu. Mr. Deng, in his weekly update to the press, said that dash 1.5 to 2 million of these mosquitoes are released every week as part of Project Wolbachia. This project dash releasing male Wolbachia Aedes mosquitoes to control the overall Aedes mosquito population, which dash the primary cause of dengue being prevalent in Singapore. The male Wolbachia Aedes mosquitoes do not dash the dangerous disease. When they dash with female Aedes mosquitoes, the eggs that have been laid do not dash. This entire process will eventually reduce the number of Aedes mosquitoes here in Singapore. Since the project was launched in 2016, it has gone dash 5 stages of field studies with mosquitoes being released in more areas around the island. In an interview, Mr. Deng was asked why dengue has not yet dash eradicated from the shores of Singapore, despite the dash of Project Wolbachia. Mr. Deng said, although we have very good mosquito population suppression and dengue suppression techniques, we're only covering a limited area. For a greater impact, we need more resources in dash to scale up the population of the Wolbachia mosquitoes and release more of them on the island. But this is not an easy task, he added. Let's start filling in. So, the National Environment Agency has found a unique way of fighting dengue in Singapore. About 200 million Wolbachia Aedes mosquitoes have been bred, right? Not they had been bred or anything like that, but it's have because this is plural. Mosquitoes and past tense, because that's the general tone of the passage, it would be have been bred at the NEA's mosquito factory since it was dash in 2019. So the factory only opened in 2019, right? Before that, it wasn't open yet. These mosquitoes were then dashed in certain areas of the island. So they're put in certain places. Like I mentioned, it's placing. So they were released, right? It's a better word than placed because mosquitoes or insects or bugs rather, they're released in certain places of the island. This is part of the agency's fight against dengue in the Republic. Dash, it will be some time before Project Wolbachia expands to other parts of the island as time is needed. So it's kind of like something which is contrary to the first part, right? We have a fight against dengue. We're progressing really well right now, but however, it will be some time before the project expands to other places or other parts of the island because we need more time first. So we won't be expanding yet or progressing in the fight against dengue for this part. The agency also needs dash develop the relevant technology. To develop, we're looking for a linking word here, right? Because the agency is the one that's developing the relevant technology. So it would be a to. Mr. Deng, in his weekly update to the press, said that dash 1.5 to 2 million of these mosquitoes are released every week as part of Project Wolbachia. So we're trying to give a little bit of an estimate, right? We're counting how many mosquitoes are there that get released. So we would say about. You could also say around 1.5 to 2 million. This project dash releasing male Wolbachia Aedes mosquitoes to control the overall Aedes population, which dash the primary cause of dengue being prevalent in Singapore. So this is very, very tricky because take note over here. This project is currently happening, right? So although the first paragraph here was past tense, like we mentioned, the project is currently happening right now as Mr. Deng is giving his weekly update, right? It's currently happening. So this would be is, right? Because what the project involves would be releasing the male Wolbachia Aedes mosquitoes to control the overall Aedes mosquito population, which is the primary cause of dengue being prevalent in Singapore, right? It wasn't a cause, it is the current primary cause. The male Wolbachia Aedes mosquitoes do not dash the dangerous disease. Carry, right? You're a disease carrier. Female Aedes mosquitoes are known to carry dengue. When they dash with female Aedes mosquitoes, this is part of your science, and you guys take science in P6. So mating, right, for question 60. When they mate with female Aedes mosquitoes, meaning have babies, carry out reproduction. The eggs that have been laid do not dash. Eggs are meant to hatch, right? In this case, they don't hatch. The entire process will eventually reduce the number of Aedes mosquitoes here in Singapore. Since the project was launched in 2016, it has gone through 5 stages, right? You go through stages of field studies with mosquitoes being released in more areas around the island. In an interview, Mr. Deng was asked why dengue has not yet dash eradicated. This would be has not yet been eradicated, right? It has not been eradicated. And that's kind of like saying that it hasn't gone yet from the shores of Singapore, despite the dash of Project Wolbachia. This one's tricky. It's kind of like trying to say despite Project Wolbachia starting, dengue hasn't been eradicated yet. So we would say launch. That's the correct word because it's been launched already and they're questioning why it hasn't eradicated dengue completely, right? Mr. Deng said, although we have very good mosquito population suppression and dengue suppression techniques, we're only covering a limited area. For a greater impact, we need more resources in dash to scale up the population of the Wolbachia mosquitoes and release more of them on the island. In order, right? In order to, that's a common phrase. I need something, in this case, I need more resources in order to scale up the population of the Wolbachia mosquitoes and release more of them on the island. But it's not an easy task. So don't be disheartened if you got like several wrong. This is a very, very tricky section. Often why it's so hard to guess or get the words for each part of the blank is because they adapt this from a actual passage. It's an actual passage with actual readings, right? It flows really, really well. And what happens is that they just blank out certain keywords and try and get you to guess it and see if you get it. That's why it's very difficult. But often try as close as possible to score higher towards the 15, okay? We got this. Question 66 to question 70. This is synthesis and transformation. So this one you need to be very, very sharp. Often I ask my students to do this the moment the paper starts. They go to this section first and apply whatever concepts they've learned, apply it, memorize, and then get it over and done with. Because this is really, really a section where you can score full marks if you know your concepts, okay? And it's all through lots of practice. 66. I was late for my science lesson. The school bus had a flat tire. So which one comes first? It would be the bus having a flat tire. So then you'll be late for the science lesson. It can't be the other way around, right? So we would say the school bus had a flat tire. And so is here. So I was late for my science lesson. Make sure your full stop is obvious. Sometimes they might not provide you a full stop. This is just from the photocopying. And science is capital because it's a proper noun, right? It's the name of a subject. 67, very common. Changing direct speech or what's in a dialogue to indirect speech. So James asked his mother, may I have pizza for dinner tonight with a question mark? So we're trying to change it into a statement. So it would be James asked his mother if, and instead of we would say he. If he might, and we don't say could have pizza. It's very common to say could have pizza here because over here is may. So when it goes down here, it would be might. If he might have pizza for dinner. And we're very, very tempted to just copy down tonight because that's what it says in the dialogue. But tonight here would be changed to that night. Full stop. 68. The mischievous cat scampered away when it saw its owner enter the room. So upon is like a linking word, right? It would be the mischievous cat scampered away upon seeing its owner enter the room. So we have a tense change here and we omit the when, all right? So it'll come naturally. Just make sure you change the tense correctly. Let's write it down. So the mischievous, and do not make spelling errors here if they're already in the question. You just copy it down accurately, you got the mark. You make an error, then that's wasted marks, okay? The mischievous cat scampered away upon seeing its owner enter the room. 69. The judges had a long discussion before they decided on the champion. So over here is after, right? So we would have the judges decided on the champion after their long discussion. But over here, we would say after having a long discussion, because we try and use the original words in the question as far as possible. We're trying to put down had in the sentence here, right? But we can't say had because it will change. After had doesn't make sense. It'll be after having a long discussion. So the judges decided on the champion after having a long discussion. Full stop. In dealing with a challenge, Aaron showed his resilience. Question 70. So the way Aaron dealt with the challenge showed his resilience. This one's tricky. The way Aaron the way Aaron dealt with the challenge showed, we don't say Aaron's again because Aaron is already here. We would say showed his resilience. Okay. Now, we're left with comprehension, and that's a separate recording. I recommend you to do full sentence corrections. If you got any of the S&T questions wrong, just like literally copy out your entire sentence out. That will help you. Same with close. If you've got a particular question wrong, copy the whole thing out as your full sentence correction. Do that for the whole paper. Grammar, anything. That's all applicable, okay? Hope you guys learned stuff. Thank you.